Cody Mattern, senior men's Epee world champion. Cody, you and a very seasoned group of other men's Epee guys put together one heck of a team to win your world championship title. What at the time were you working on to achieve that level of success in your fencing?
I think the biggest thing that we as a squad came up with that really brought us together was a sense of I mean, not to be cliche, but of team spirit. And the biggest thing was trust and communication. It was very important that everyone knew each other's strengths, their weaknesses, and how to place them in the right role for the collective unit to come together. I mean, we talk about this in concepts with basketball, as saying, the coach comes in and say, we got to win through defense, and you got to buy into the system. If you don't buy into the system, you're not going to get to that point. And a team can't just win on having a great offense. It has to have both components. And what we really, I think, looked at was saying, where is everybody's strengths? How do we play to them? How do we think our opponents are going to try to work against them, and then embrace that? Understand that there are situations in which this guy is the new one on the team, and he's probably the one that they're going to try to pick on. So we just say, hey man, they're going to come after you. Embrace the situation, love it, live it, and expect it, and thrive in that environment, and make them sorry that they thought that they could pick on you. And that was one of the things that we all knew, but we also knew very important was that everybody had each other's back, and that there was never a moment of judgment if a bout went poorly, and that we knew that everybody was going to have a bout or a time in which they weren't able to do what they wanted, but that we knew they wanted to do it for the team. And I think it's a very important concept in team bouting that when you come back to the group huddle at the end of each match and before the relay switchover, that everybody comes to that athlete, gives the high five, but it's the high five, looking them in the eyes and say, you did awesome. You did what you needed to do, no worries. Even if you are personally feeling guilty as heck for not giving up a few big touches, but if everybody else comes up there and does that, but you've all been in this situation, when you come to the group huddle, you get the kind of the glance off high five, and he won't even make eye contact with you. You're like, oh my God, I'm like the leper. This guy thinks I have the plague and I won't get anywhere near me. And so you might still have 2 or 3, you might still have 2 more rotations where you have to go back and you're not feeling as inspired to go out there and get out there. But if everybody has your back and then they go out there and they show it, it's much easier to move past a bump in the road and then get back on track if everybody is in the system and everybody knows that, okay, we've all been there. No big deal. We trust your skills. We know where you're going to be good. I got you back on this one. You'll get me next time. We're all good.
Obviously, anyone who talks to the current squad on the men's foil or men's Epee side, they'll say the same thing, that the team dynamic there is so strong. A big part of that is probably Ben Bratton, just a baby at the time with your squad. Now he's the veteran guy on this team. What's your relationship with the current men's Epee team?
So Ben, being the seasoned guy on the team, really gets to bring a lot of that experience, and coming in at that time as the low man on the totem pole is now really going to share a lot of the kind of the trials and tribulations that he went through as he's coming back up. So I think it's great that he can then kind of shepherd in some of these new guys and kind of let them know the same thing. It's like, yeah, they're coming for you, man, and you can either let it happen, or you can find a way to make it work. Several of the other guys I got to work with on the Olympic Training Center, and we got to spend a lot of time to kind of go over a lot of these same concepts. They've done a lot of the same situational work, bouting and preparation-wise, that we did at that time. And then we have some brand new guys coming up, and I really hope that the collective knowledge that we collected in those other guys that we've already just kind of disseminated out gets passed on, because the last thing I would like to have is all of that great effort. I mean, it took 10 years to get to that point, and people for 8 of those 10 years thought we were pretty much terrible. So for it to kind of deal with all of that and get to the point where at the end people were surprised to hear that we won a world championships. It's like, hey, actually we've been pretty good for the last couple of years, but people were used to thinking of you as not being on the top. Now you have a bunch of new guys who have inspired and know it's possible. I think once it's been done, that barrier's been broken, everybody's like, I want to be the next to do that. It's hard to be the first. And now they can take that step and go through. We have some new guys on that squad, and I hope that they are absolutely listening to the experienced veterans in that room, and that we get opportunities as former champions to work with some of these new athletes as they come up, and make sure that they don't have to repeat our mistakes, but can learn from them before they make them, and really embrace that concept so that we can get back to that same level in a much faster time period.
And obviously a world championship speaks to that level of camaraderie that your squad was able to achieve.
Yeah.
Now, Coach, as a coach, a successful athlete, what were some of the things while you were training competitively? What was your favorite action?
For me, my favorite action was definitely my flesh. I was when I attacked, I loved to go with a strong flesh. I think that was definitely kind of a signature kind of move for me.
Cody Mattern move.
Yeah, and so I think that was a big one. And also, in my situation, I love to have a good toe shot. So if they got too close, I was able to get the strong flesh, and if they were staying too far away, then I'd have to settle for a nice hit to the toe. So that was kind of a one or the other, and it was just kind of like they got to choose the action that I was going to try to use.
And how were you practicing those actions in practice?
I mean, a lot of what has to happen is, and I think this is an important factor, is that a lot of people try to draw up the specific play in their mind, and I think this is kind of a mistake. Because then you almost force the play you want. You want it too bad, and you start seeing things that really aren't there because you want that specific thing. And so the difference wasn't that I would pick a specific play, but I'd kind of create a setup that would enable either. Okay, so the focus wasn't on the end, it was on the beginning. But the beginning focus allowed it. I think of it like this: if you imagine visualizing a situation, kind of creating a movie in your mind of what you want to do, that's what most people do when they want to set up a specific action. What I would do, and now I think of it as when somebody panics, a lot of times that thought bubble over their head pops, and whatever that thing was that they're thinking about comes out in reality. And sometimes that thing that you were thinking of is terrible for the situation, and you do it anyway because that's what you are so hyper focused on. And I've definitely been in that situation where I wanted the toe touch so bad, and I popped the bubble, and then it came out, and then I got counterattacked, and it was terrible. It was a terrible idea, but it was because I was too focused on that. But when I focus on the preparation, the in-between setup, if somebody panics me into doing my in-between setup, there's nothing to hit me on yet, and so I don't get penalized. But if I can get to there, and then the next piece is available, I can always add that in. But now I'm looking, it's a little bit more of an eyes open scenario. I get to that in-between step that allows me to take either fork in the road. But I don't know which one it's going to be, and I'm actively looking to see which one is there. Sometimes neither. But if one of those two came up, the flesh path or the foot path, I was looking for those two green lights, and if one of them came up, I pick it and go. And I have confidence in that action, in that situation. If neither came up, I abandon, and I come back and reset up the play.
And that's really to the point of having a process-oriented focus,
right.
Whereas you're not product-oriented and thinking about the end, you're thinking about all the steps leading up to that.
Correct.
And now as a coach, how do you incorporate that type of focus and training into lessons and practice with your students?
So it's a lot of it's trying to make sure that the athlete, A, technically can execute what you want. That's always an important part of any lesson, just going through the mechanics. But once the mechanics start to become second nature, then you want to start saying, okay, now I want to include decision making so that, well, otherwise my students start to guess, and I don't want to encourage guessing. And sometimes as a coach, you become pattern oriented. And fencing as a sport is often pattern oriented, and you're really trying to get into a pattern recognition mindset. So as a coach, because I don't want my students to guess, I have to try to randomize those scenarios so that they can't guess. And if they do guess, they will fail. And that way, they're focused on making sure they're in that, like you said, process-oriented position, so that there's never a reason, there's never an ability to fail, because you get to that place and either abandon and there's no mistake, or you get to that place, you recognize which path, which fork it is, and then you take the right road. And then when they start to bout, which is also an open environment, open skill environment, they're used to that because that's a product of their lesson environment. So I would try to make sure that once you create the initial technical ability, you start to make sure that they're immediately starting to build the mental ability of deciding and having confidence to act on it.
Great tips from world champion, now coach, Cody Mattern. Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you.